So, again, everyone, good morning, and thank you again for spending time with us. Because I know that your time is valuable. You have deadlines, stories to chase, life to cover, and yet today, you've chosen to spend a few hours with us, and for that, we're grateful. You're here not just to talk about, but to hear a story. A story about transformation. A story about people, and a story about what is possible. So, the truth is, what is happening here at PPCPI goes beyond what you just saw, machines and metrics. It is about the quiet work of rebuilding something that matters. One route, one delivery, and one size store at a time. Let me tell you what drives us. It is not just a pursuit of market share or margins. It is the size store. That humble store by the roadside, often run by a mother, balancing her business and with her children. That size store is the heartbeat of our society. It's a heartbeat of our economy. That is where trust is built. That is where communities are sustained. And that is who we strive to serve every single day. When Lotte Chilson Beverage of Korea and PepsiCo came together to form this JV called PPCPI, they brought with them the global scale, best-in-class practices, and they believe in the potential of what Filipino market can offer. But the vision, that part is deeply local. Let me tell you more. That vision is about economic inclusion. It is about reaching every corner of the country and lifting people up from the bottom up. Not just about delivering beverages, but it is about our mission is about creating opportunity for more than 1 billion, to be exact, 1.3 billion micro entrepreneurs across 7,000 markets. That is our mission. That's our mission. So let me start with the story. The mission that I just described to you, it resonates with me deeply. Why? Because it's deeply personal for me. I'm from Myanmar. I was raised in Myanmar, in neighborhoods where the economy wasn't built by large corporations, but by corner shops, just like the Sari stores here in the Philippines. So our vision of Sari stores, I watched when I was growing up, women running food stores out of their own homes with little capital, but with incredible amount of grit, strength, and hope. Those stores weren't just businesses for me. That is what forms identity of people, and dignity of running your own business. In the future of standing on your own 2 feet and supporting your family. So when I came here to the Philippines, I saw the same spirit alive over 1.3 billion Sari stores. I just didn't see coincidence. I saw purpose. And I knew that this was a mission worth committing us. I knew that this was a mission that is worth committing to. Because if we can empower these women who run these Sari stores, these micro entrepreneurs, we're not just growing the business. We're strengthening 1.3 million families who rely on our parents. And when we do that right, when we build a future that is more inclusive, more resilient, and more just, we're contributing towards a better future. That's what I believe. So now, let me first talk about our route to market. Route to market is the very first step of serving these micro entrepreneurs. That's why our transformation journey began where it matters most, on the ground. We reimagined our route to market. Route to market, if you take a look at it, it's an industry jargon. Route to market means how do we, whatever you produce here, how do you make sure that our stores are able to receive it? Right? That's just route to market, right? But we reimagine our route to market process I just described to you, not just as a delivery mechanism, but as a demand generation engine. We start treating our stores as what the industry will call last mile delivery. When we started treating these women and these service stores as our first customers. We digitize our route to market infrastructure. So we can serve more service stores without increasing our cost base. And every peso that we saved from this digitization, we have reinvested. We offer more competitive margins to these service stores. We are also extending credit so that these service stores can carry more inventory. We built transparency into our system to make sure that the middlemen are not keeping the credit and the margins that we want to give to the service stores in their pocket. We are now digitally tracking these programs that we are giving to these service stores to ensure that these benefits actually reach the people who need them the most, who get other service stores. Now, when I say this, I sound awfully like an NGO. But that's not how we see this. What we're doing is not a handout. It's a strategy. It's a partnership. It's a partnership where these micro entrepreneurs can stand on their own 2 feet. And we are their partners. And because if these service stores thrive, so does PPCPI. That's what we believe in. Now we talked about this route market. It's essentially how we connect with service stores. Now let me talk about the second topic, which is what you just saw. The supply generation, the supply chain. For that partnership that I just described to you, the partnership between PPCPI and service store, for that partnership to work, supply has to keep up with the demand. So if we look at our operations, we ask ourselves, how can we make our supply chain more agile, more cost effective, and more responsive to the people that we intend to serve? We make strategic investments, like the high-speed PT lines that you just saw. We're not just installing these high-speed machines, not just here in St. Thomas. In all key hubs across Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, we're doing the same thing. We have been improving our production systems. And since the start of our transformation 18 months ago, when I first became the CEO, our nationwide truly put in efficiency. This is what Chris Powell was talking about. Right? Machines are measured as true efficiency, right? Maybe as 50%, 40%, right? And this one that was what I mentioned, that true machine efficiency is now over 90%. Of course, not all machines are at that level. This is state-of-the-art. But on average, every single line that we started doing transformation on average, that machine efficiency have improved in the past 18 months by 20%. Right? That's with the same install base, which with the same machines that we're operating, with the same cost base, we're now able to generate additional 10 million cases without any additional capacity. That's fine. But let me make it clear. We're not just doing this to be faster, to be leaner, and to be more profitable. Although we know that that's part of our KPI as management, that's what we have to do. But in our heart, we're doing this to create room so that we can pass those savings back to the stores. Without profitability, I don't think we'll be able to pass on these responsibilities. But now that I have it, we can do this. With these savings, we can now offer better prices so that the stores can protect their margins and so that they can serve their communities with greater confidence. That is how we think about efficiencies. We're not talking about efficiencies purely in efficiencies gains as true machine efficiencies. We are measuring ourselves to see how much of the savings can we give back to the stores. Why are we doing this? Because again, let me repeat what I just said. We see our mission and vision as a means to widen the circle of inclusion. That's what we're doing. Now, third, let me talk about the organizational culture. Because we all know, true transformation must start from within. When I became CEO, I made a promise to my team to lead differently. Not from the comfort of the HQ, but from the fields, in the trenches, together with our frontliners. In my first 12 months, I visited every single sales region. We have 14 sales regions. And I visited every single plant with 11 plants, including sales region of Zamboanga. I was told I'm the first Pepsi CEO to be visiting Zamboanga, and I was told I was the first CEO to be visiting every single sales region. When I made these trade visits, when I made these field visits, I had a chance to sit with our frontliners, and I listened. Most importantly, I learned. What I heard from the frontline staff was honest and sometimes hard feedback. It's of what we see in the leadership. It is about what we're not doing right. I had a chance to listen to our teams and learn from them of what are our failures, what are the senior management doing. I had a chance to learn all those. Because that's exactly what we needed for transformation. I know we have strong people. I know we have strong frontliners. But previously, we had tremendous layers of bureaucracy that slowed us down. And that disconnect HQ from what is happening on the ground. I learned during these visits. So, what do? We flattened our organization. We cut the distance between CEO and the frontliners. We gave the business units more autonomy, more freedom. We empowered local leaders to make decisions without waiting for HQ's direction. And we also created a forum for upward feedback. We created quarterly national town halls, where everyone, they had a chance to ask any question they like. There's only one thing I tell them: I will answer every single question. I told them I cannot promise that I will give them answers that they will want to hear, but I can always promise to them, you will hear me giving an honest answer to them. That has changed. We've also introduced 360-degree feedback. Before, it was always used to a supervisor providing feedback to your team members. Now 360, all of a sudden, CEO is being judged. All line managers are being judged. So then, supervisors, all the way up to CEO, we're now on our toes because we are being judged, and we are being judged by our own team members. And our annual bonus depends upon how our teams feel. That's change, and that's change of culture. It's a culture of empowerment. It's a culture of accountability. These aren't just symbolic gestures. These are real changes, and that has made a difference. In 2024, we started tracking something called NPS, Net Promoter Score. Right? We started tracking that. So, between the beginning of 2024 and end of 2024, that NPS, Net Promoter Score, where employees ask a simple question: would you recommend PPCPI to your friend and family as a place to go for? It's a simple question we ask. And then the positives are only answered absolutely yes, either 9 or 10. And if the score is 6 and below, it's a minus. So the net between who answers 9 and 10 to whose answer is 6 and below is called net progress score. That score improved 19% in the first year alone. So we know that things are changing, and things are changing across the organization, starting from the top. So, next topic, let me tell you a little bit about innovation, our product innovation. Here, I want to let you know that we're doing innovations, but we're doing innovations for inclusion. Let's take a look at this. This is what we call affordable, accessible. Because we know that product and innovation that we are producing, it has to reflect the realities of the market. So instead of launching luxury formats, big size, whatever it is, more expensive ones, we focus on what size stores truly need. Affordable, accessible, and relevant packs, entry-level packs. In short, we introduced this recently, only this month, Gatorade 237 ml, a portion-controlled hydration option for students. Truly, this is truly compliant with the Department of Education requirements in terms of the amount of sugar it has in it. It's compliant. We are selling to high schools. Why are we doing this? Because we know that when we do innovation, it's not just about having a product. It's about making sure that we are providing healthy options for our next generation. We also launched Gatorade Electrolyte Mix, a 15 peso powder sachet that makes hydration possible for every single household. And we rolled out zero sugar lipton, a no compromise choice for health conscious, but also budget conscious consumers. So innovation for us isn't about what is new. It's about what is needed. It's about making quality, health conscious choices available on every shelf, in every barcode, and without pushing anyone away because of affordability. So next topic, I want to talk a little bit about sustainability. Because as we build today, we need to stay mindful of tomorrow. Sustainability is not a buzzword very PPCPI. It is a responsibility. In our St. Thomas, our plants lead the way with solar panels, recycled packaging, and world-class utilization certifications. Across the network of all 11 plants, we are reinvesting in water efficiency, circular economy models, and partnerships that reduce waste and conserve energy. We talked about all these 11 plants having solar panels charged within the next few months. But it's growing. That depletes the planet. Isn't really good at all. That's extraction. That's not what we needed. We're here to believe. We're here to build something that lasts. Something future generations can be proud of. And we're going to do this not as an afterthought, but as a strategy embedded in every line that we run, in every pack that we produce, and in every community that we touch. Now, in closing, this is a story I want to share with you today. It is not just a business story. It's a human story. It is a story about frontliners who show up every day with quiet strength. It is about women running sari stores with grace and grit. It is about a team across regions and roles committed to doing something that is larger than themselves. And it's also about servant leadership, not as a slogan, but as a way of life. It's about what becomes possible if we choose to lead with empathy, to listen first, and to lift others as we climb ourselves. But we're not done. Not by a long shot. We are moving forward with discipline, with purpose, and with the belief that the real progress doesn't happen just overnight. It's step by step, relationship by relationship, family by family. So thank you. Thank you for your time, for your curiosity, and for your willingness to walk this journey together with us. The next chapter of PPCPI is still being written. With your partnership, I believe that it will be more meaningful. I remember myself.
A model facility,
So, St. Thomas Land has been pioneering many best practices in the industry. So, not only in terms of efficiency, but as well as sustainability. So, this plan highlights technology-related water conservation, energy conservation.
Sergio actually mentioned earlier our solar project that will be commissioned in the next 3 months. And we also have a bottle washer water recovery, where the water we use to wash the bottles will be recovered, reprocessed, and used in some of our utility operations. So that will significantly reduce our water consumption. And in terms of people capability and also operational systems, most of the plants of PCPI, they come here, they get tours, and lift and shift some of our best practices in terms of cadence, the daily cadence of our operations, and how we also took care of our people. We continuously train them and give all the best practices in partnership also with our Pepsi partners. So collaborating with PepsiCo leadership team in terms of programs and also sustainability programs. So this plan, not only because we're producing majority of the volume for PCPI, we also become one of the best in terms of all the programs related to people, process, and efficiency.
You mentioned about the returnable plastic bottles. How does that work? Kasi aside from the host problem or the from the bottles, so how you guys usually is implemented well to lessen the plastic bottles?
So
I think was asked was, what is the process of returnable glass bottles, right, with us receiving back? And I think the related question is, what are we doing to make sure that that we are using our returnable glass bottles to do our part in sustainability, right? I believe that's the question. So for that one, let me make it clear that half of our volume is glass bottles, right? So this is a milestone, right? Because for us, right, it's very easy for us to just use plastic. Right? It's much easier, right? Because logistics is a lot more straightforward. But we do not want to be polluting our pristine beaches. Although I'm not Filipino, I visited your beautiful beaches. Right? I'm not going to be part of the problem. So because of that, our strategy, together with our partners at the PepsiCo, is we want to be using glass bottles as much as possible. Because we will be able to use the same glass bottles again and again and again, right? And that makes sure that we don't have unnecessary plastic pollution. That is our strategy for using these glass bottles. But in order to make sure that our glass bottles we're able to receive it, right? We need to. It's a really complicated logistical challenge, right? Because what we need to do is first we need to sell, right, to Saudi stores. We need to collect these glass bottles from Saudi stores, right? And we need to make that collection is also a big effort, right? Because imagine a Saudi store on a small island. We need to get the bottle there. There are a few hands being exchanged, and we need to make sure that bottle is not lost. If the bottle is being lost, that adds to the pollution. So we don't want to be that. So the reverse logistics, what we call it, once we sell the bottles, how do we get the empty bottles? The full bottles, how do we get the empty bottles back? That is the big effort that we're investing into. And now, you saw what happens once these bottles are inside the whole walls of the plant. Safety, we don't compromise. Because when our bottles are reused and they're dirty and not hygienic, we're losing the trust of the people who need to trust us. So because of that, we don't compromise on safety. So because of that, we are investing into machinery that automatically rejects the bottles that are unusable. And we are investing into bottle washing machines to make sure that bottles are washed to the best specs of what PepsiCo requires of us. In addition, we're also investing into people, because it's not just about machine. If the machine misses something, we've got people who will catch to make sure that the bottles that shouldn't be going out is never out there. So by making sure that all these complicated logistics, forward logistics, as well as reverse logistics, and this food safety mechanism are all in place. And these are not inexpensive things to do, but we are investing in these processes because we believe that that is part of our mandate to contribute as least as possible towards plastic pollution. Does it answer your question?
The next question.
Question is, for any product that uses water as part of the output, one of the critical things is sourcing. So, have you had any issues regarding the sourcing, how to make it consistent, and other issues regarding that?
The question is water, right?
Yeah, meaning sourcing. Is it coming from underground, well, or so?
I'll tell a general story. In general, when municipal water is available, we tend to use the municipal water. So at the same time, there are plants where we are using deep wells. But having said that, what we're really focusing on is once water is drawn out, how do we make sure that our water usage is minimized? So that's why Chris was saying, we're looking at reusing the used water, right? Because when we are cleaning the water bottles, we don't use fresh water because it's not for food. We use the recycled water. By doing that, we're making sure that once water is taken out from the ground, we're making maximum use of it. That's number one. Number two also is once water is used, we're drinking the water. We don't just send the water back out untreated. That would be irresponsible use of water. So we're investing huge amount of money to make sure that the water that goes out of this plant meets and exceeds every environmental requirement. That's how we do it. Anything to add to that?
So actually, sir, which is why we have ongoing partnerships with, let's say, Laguna Lake Development Authority, and then especially here in Santa Tomas, the local government. We also have Adopter River. So all the bodies of water within close proximity to our plants, we have partnerships with the local governments to ensure that not just the water that we use and not just the water that we put out, but generally it's a commitment to actually water stewardship. That's why independent of the sources that we have strong partnerships with our local governments to make sure, and the national government agencies as well, to make sure that we clean the water which are located around us. Any more questions?
Hello, good afternoon. My name is Yuri from Mediacon. Sir, why is ESG important to PPCPI business strategy?
Why is ESG important? She's
So
our
that-
chief ESG officer.
Yeah. So I think when we say ESG, it's environment, social, and governance. So I think very different from other companies wherein you just have a head for sustainability. We actually have everything in one go, which is environment, social, and governance. What does that mean? We are committed not just to sustainable operations, but also we invest in our employees. That's our social part of the deal, no? So we take care of our employees, and then for governance, we make sure that we are compliant with all relevant rules and regulations. So why is that significant for us? Because I think that is what is key to the success of any company. Because any company, the heart of which is people, our employees. That's part of our ESG strategy. And of course, how we treat our environment is sustainability. But also very important is how we remain compliant and we partner with the national and local governments to ensure that all our practices are within what is required of us. So I think ESG encompasses the whole process, no? So we think of our employees, our external stakeholders, and also what we do to the environment. And so I think it's very key to the success of any company. Thank you.
Just want to add one more thing, which is, I don't know about other companies, but this company, our ESG officer is part of the executive committee. So this hopefully shows us that our chief ESG officer is one of the most senior positions that an employee can hold. So hopefully it shows that how committed we are to this.
Yes, good morning. Ron Barbaso from Ronald DJ. So I had got two short questions. First, is there a particular timeline that at least all of the 11 plants will be at least 80 to 100% powered by solar panel? And how are those 11 plants prepared for the upcoming typhoon and monsoon season, especially with the supply chain?
Can you repeat the second question?
How are those 11 plants prepared for the upcoming typhoon and monsoon season, especially in the supply chain concerns?
Right, yeah. So I'll try to take it, and then first one is getting solar panels, energy from solar panels 100% of the time. That's my dream. But let me tell you, for manufacturing plants, that requires high amount of power. So which means at any given time you need that oomph, right? So because of that, that's not possible, at least with the existing technologies, right? You need to have acres and acres of solar panels to be able to do that, right? Because these, the machines that we saw, they suck up a lot of not just energy. Energy means, right? Power is at any given time how much energy that you're using, right? So these are power extraction machines that really heavy, right? So because of that, right, going 100% solar currently is not part of what is feasible yet. But at the same time, right, what we are still committing ourselves is we are at 15% daytime, can we go to 30% daytime, right? That's what we're looking at, right? So, and that, we have that ambition, right? So yes, yes, ideally we can get to 100%, but it's not feasible yet. But we are setting ourselves of what is feasible, and we are going for that maximum of what is feasible. I think that's one. On the supply chain, Priya, do you want to take that?
So thank you. So just to add probably to the first question, we don't have a specific timeline yet, but also to add to Pio's response to that, it's also the supply, which means that reliable suppliers of solar energy panels and the whole chain in providing solar energy is still not fully here in the Philippines. So we still have limited supply, and in terms also of the quality of the solar energy systems that we have in the Philippines is still not that mature. Actually, to be honest, even before the pandemic in 2019, that was our first attempt to negotiate already for solar panels. But because of the pandemic, during that time, we only had one supplier who could supply our 6 plants coming from Singapore. So that was in 2019. Of course, the pandemic came in. So now it's just we're trying to do it again. So which means that really, I think the timeline will be affected also by the number of capable suppliers who can do our solar energy requirements. So that's one. And on the second one, it's not just really for typhoons. PCPPI is built actually to withstand natural calamities. You know that it's not typhoons, we have earthquakes, and also other natural calamities. So all our plants have a very robust business continuity plan, which includes taking care of our employees, first and foremost, to ensure that they are safe during natural calamities and other disasters that will strike us. And then of course also our supplies and our equipment are all part of the BCP. I think, we have a plant which is close to Muntinlupa, which is an active volcano right now. And then we also have Taal, which is near here. So our plants, because of their strategic locations, are really in places where natural calamities happen regularly. So that is part of our ESG strategy to ensure continuous supply despite incidents, and of course the safety of our employees. I'd like you to know that whenever there are natural calamities, Pepsi is always at the forefront of partnering with the LGUs. We supply water, we have volunteers with our employees to ensure that we help the communities where we operate in.
Thank you.
And from supply chain point of view, 11 factories are our competitive advantage also. So you see, if one factory is down because of some other reason for a few days, the other factories are planned in such a way that we can compensate from other factories. We have spare capacity and spare water walls and also supplies. So in this situation, other factories can compensate for the loss from one particular factory. So this is our power, strength, 11 factories. So definitely there will be extra logistics costs, but we can manage that challenge and grow. So that's where Karina was mentioning, we have business continuity. So if one factory is down, which are the other 2 or 3 factories who can compensate for that? Thank you. Very good question from supply chain point of view. So I had
Leo Sanchez from Dollar Savings. The question is, what are some key sustainability milestones PPCPI has achieved recently? So thank you for that question. So key sustainability milestones. I think probably the biggest is our commitment to be compliant to the Extended Producers Responsibility Act. I know it's actually for companies, especially for multinationals, it's a big issue because I think under that particular law by the good Senator Villar is that we started in 2024, 20% of the amount of plastics that we use and put out in the Philippines, we need to take back. Essentially, that's the essence of the law. So it's a very aggressive law. Every year, from 20% moves to 40%, and now we're at 50% for 2025. So it's a huge commitment, no? It's not just about it's if you're from the outside, it seems simple because like the amount of plastic you put out, the bottles you take back. It's not that simple. It encompasses the whole supply chain, and I think given the very unique personality of the Philippines, we have 7,107 islands during high tide. So we have to go through all of them to take back 20%, 40%, 50%, all the way up to 80% within 6 years from the time the laws was started. That is a huge commitment. And as a multinational, we are highly committed. I think, being part of the industry association, I have heard similarly big corporations already struggling at this point because of that commitment. But so far, we are good. We are committed to that. So I think that's a big sustainability milestone for us. But another one also is our commitment to water stewardship. I mentioned that like in the past 6 months, we have signed agreements with the LLPA as well as the different LGUs here in Santo Tomas, also in Muntinlupa, wherein we have committed to actually assist the national and the local governments in sustaining water stewardship in their respective jurisdictions. So I think those are very critical for us now from a sustainability standpoint. So maybe, Chris, you have something special for here in Santo Tomas?
Yes. In terms of sustainability, year on year, we commit to further reduce our water consumption. So even though we're expanding our operation, we have more than doubled our capacity. So it's our commitment to reduce our water usage. So we measure our water usage in terms of liters per liter. For every liter of product, we use this much liter of water. So that's how we stay committed, and I'm happy to announce in the last couple of months, we have reduced significantly by around 0.3 liters of liter of water versus the previous year. So that's like, even we also have balance of the year, a lot of programs in place to reduce it further. We came from a program last week with PepsiCo to deep dive our operations and look for opportunities to further improve our, not only on water, but as well on energy. Because this plant uses a lot of energy in terms of fuel, in terms of electricity. So there are different ways that we're able to understand together with our subject matter experts to do better and to further improve our operations. So that has been always the commitment of Santo Tomas.
very well with the support from PepsiCo global best practices. and we are very confident when we exit this year, we will be using 20% less water versus last year. So 20% water less this year. This is our commitment, and that's why PepsiCo and the Tomas plant and other plants are working very aggressively. And as PO mentioned, for known core areas, like it doesn't make sense for floor washing or for whitening, we do use fresh water. So for known core areas, we are not using deep well or municipal water. So we just recycle the water after certain cleaning and then make sure that known core areas we don't use that. And even in fresh water, fresh areas, we are bringing in technologies where we use less and less water and less energy, like electricity. So I'm sure this factory, despite volume going up, electricity bill must be coming down. Like for example, this bottle you see, where is Mountain Dew bottle? Yeah, this one, Mountain Dew bottle you see, the neon. This bottle, the high-speed line, which is producing these bottles at a speed of 1,000 bottles per minute. In 1 minute, 1,000 bottles come. So previously, this bottle we were doing at 32 bars. So 32 bars means like how many PSI? It's a huge pressure. So high pressure compressors are used. With the new technology, we are doing this at 19, 20 bar. 20 bars, so it's like 30-40% electricity saving. So these are a couple of examples where I am sharing with you that PepsiCo and PPCPI are working together to save energy. So we have run successful, like in PepsiCo, we do trials with new technology in one country, and then we spread this to the other countries. So in some areas, PPCPI is leading. So we are spreading from PPCPI to other countries. In some areas, other countries are leading and we are bringing it here. So this is as a PepsiCo our job. So to bring those best practices on sustainability on water and energy. I hope this answers your question.
Yeah.
We can have one last question.
Urban roles, especially the size stores, owners as the heartbeat of the community. So my question would be, are there any specific projects or initiatives or programs that PPCPI are planning to build in the future to ensure that their commitment towards these entrepreneurs will be met continuously?
Yes, actually this is the most important strategic direction probably for the next 5 years. So where does it start? The first step is we need to make sure that we are reaching more of these sari stores directly. When I say directly, right, I mean it's either our frontliners are visiting them or our trade partners, our distributors frontliners are visiting them. Right? That's how I would define reach. When we started this project, transformation project 18 months ago, we have close to zero visibility of where these sari stores are. So which means we did not know all the trade margins that we're giving to trade, whether any of them are getting. We simply did not know, but we have a good hunch. When I went to do trade visits and these all supporting sales regions, when I asked these sari stores, what price are you buying from? They tell us the story. Much of the margins that we're giving to these sari stores, it's not reaching their hands. I knew somewhere along the value chain, there is a lot of leakage, right? So versus that, starting from zero, 18 months later, by my definition of either us directly reaching or our distributors frontliners reaching, we're now reaching out to 200,000 sari stores. We will not stop until all 1.2 million sari stores are reached. Of course, this is not something that we can do alone, because some sari stores, they want to buy Pepsi products, others might want to buy other products, right? So the goal is to be able to make sure that we are able to reach as many of these sari stores as fast as possible. Of course, right, we're not getting to 1.3 million tomorrow is not possible. It's a journey, but it's a journey that is worth pursuing. Right? So that's the first one is reach. Second one is once we reach, what are we doing to make sure that we're giving them on? Right? So we are specific. We now are using digitized systems, applications. We call them DMS, distribution management systems, to see proof that our frontliners and our distributor partners frontliners are actually giving the trade margins to the sari stores. We now have proof. Every transaction that happens, we know how much that sari stores, the margin that they get. That is the second lead that we're doing. Right? So third is financial inclusion. Many of these sari stores, many of them just do not get trade credit because they're too small to get trade credit. We're trying to change that. We are partnering with Maya. We've signed an MOU a few months back, and we are running a pilot right now to make sure that between us, two of us, we're able to give trade credit to these sari stores. Again, people might think of this as a risky venture, but we don't see it that way. We see it as a way to make sure that we are putting in all the right mechanisms in place so that we are serving our sari stores with both trade margins and with appropriate credit so that they will be able to stand on their own 2 feet to improve their lives and to improve the lives of their families and to improve the lives of their communities. That's our mandate.
Thank you. Yes.
I had the privilege of working with local retail company, hundreds of stores, and bigger over carrier, the international company with thousands of stores, several countries. One of the main differences that I felt is that we work for people, meaning the people within the organization, like work-life balance. It's not even the term discussed in the manual in most of our companies. So that's why I'm glad that when you mentioned that you made your organization flatter, that's certainly one of the steps for making sure that people on the front lines and the lower tiers of the organization are able to communicate with the top tier people. What other steps is Pepsi doing in order to make sure that the people working in the local organization will continue to work and be happy with the organization?
Great question. The question was, what are we doing to make sure that people are happy with what they do? Right? Because that's in a nutshell, that's a hard understood. So the first one is the mission must be meaningful. Actually, people don't mind working hard. People only mind being just small cogs in a big machine. Because they don't see a purpose of why they have to show up to work every single day. I think that's a big problem. And so, what we're doing now, unashamedly, is that we are here to serve our stores. And that's a goal that is bigger than each and every one of us. And I hope that that's the end goal of what we're trying to achieve hopefully resonates well with the frontline staff. And that makes them get up every day in the morning and work hard. Right? So that's number one. Number two is, if you work hard, do you get recognized? So, or do you get ahead because of your tenure or because of the people that you know? So we're changing our culture of accountability. You will get ahead in PPCPI, not because of how many years you've been in PPCPI, not because you have a sponsor who will recommend you, but because of the hard work that you put in every single day. To do that, we are starting to build digitized platforms where people who did the work, it's plain for everyone to see. You don't need to go and yell out, at the top of your lungs to say, hey, I'm working hard. Right? So we now, in route to market, in distribution, we have that already. But we are going to be introducing these across the organization, right? Across all functions, to make sure that people who are working hard, they don't have to be loud. They will be recognized. And alongside hard work, rather than you having to lobby for incentive comes without you asking for it. That incentive structure is also something that we are ripping out the old structure and implementing the new structure. That is data-driven, that is based on what you did, not based on who you are, how long you're with the company, and who you know, and who your sponsor is. So that's about accountability. The third one is empowerment. Again, that's what I talked about before. Before, PPCPI was always, let's look at HQ and follow the direction. You don't question. That's not how it works anymore. HQ has become supporting role now. Of course, you still need HQ. At the same time, the authority of doing the right thing is now with the plant leadership, with the BUs, with the 14, where we have monitoring BUs, that's also 15 BUs, the 14 sales region, 15 BUs, and now the rest at that level. Now HQ provides supporting role, managed services to these BUs per se, right? Outsource services to these BUs, right? So that is the service that we're doing. So which means these BUs can try to drive the strategy that they see fit, and execution of that strategy they see fit. At the same time, please don't forget about accountability as well. Right? You cannot just like, I want to do this, and then you will be held accountable for the choices that you make as well. So it's about accountable but empowered leadership, a flat organization, an agile organization, a transparent organization is what we're trying to build. And finally, it's about servant leadership. We can just talk about this big talk. At the same time, if your CEO does not show up on the shop floor, which frontliner would believe that CEO, whatever the CEO is saying, they would just say, that guy is just so full of himself, right? Because the guy is not living the value that he's preaching or she's preaching. Because we're firm believers of leaders leading by example. You cannot ask your frontliners to do what you cannot do yourself. When there is rain, and when you still say that, hey, your frontliners, you still need to visit the sari stores because, hey, sari stores needs to be served. We need frontliners to go visit sari stores so that they have something to sell to support their own families. That's a statement of responsibility that our frontliners are performing. Okay, it's not just about dropping products. It's about replenishing the inventories so the sari stores can make money. even when it rains, which was what was happening in the past 2 weeks. Things are tough, but yet sales team are expected to go and serve these sari-sari stores because sari-sari stores need to be served. At that time, you cannot say, oh, HQ staff, there's a little bit of flood. You don't show, you don't do that. Especially the senior leadership must live the way that the frontliners live. If the frontliners show up to work, you cannot work from home. Because frontliners are going into the fronts to serve the sari-sari store. CEO should not be just holed up in his own home office. That's unfair. You have to live the values that you preach. That kind of accountability, servant leadership, is the leadership, the culture change that we are trying to establish here at PPCPI. Thank you.